Hello, fellow seekers, friends, and family. I hope you all are doing great and have had a great week and are having a great weekend. As always, I will tell you the date that I am currently filming this, or recording this, I should say. But not to say that it will be published that day or even the next day, or in the case of the last video, several days, because you never know when things like technical difficulties will arise. But I'm here now, and it's December 7th, a little after 7 p.m. in the evening. And let's just, I'm still reeling from the atrocious statement Sarah Boone made. The forgiveness, which really wasn't forgiving, and the apology, which wasn't an apology. But before I go on and on about that, let's just go on and say, let the appeal process begin. So on the same day that Sarah Boone received her sentence, this all occurred around December 2nd at around 4:07 p.m. And what is it? They have 30 days to appeal or to pick. I don't know. I forget. Details, right? But anyhow, there has been no time wasted. It says, I guess they need to appoint somebody, and it says, let me see. Oh, yeah. Right there it says, good afternoon. Per Judge Kranick, please appoint the next person on the wheel for purposes of appeal for Boone Sarah. Second degree M. So that comes from Brianna V. Ruiz, trial clerk. And then it's the office of Tiffany Moore Russell. Apparently they're the ones. So it's for the next person on the wheel. So that person is, it says, hi, Bree, please use Alan Holland. So Alan Holland is going to be the appeal attorney for Sarah Boone. Now, can you just imagine? I wonder if, so it says the next attorney on the wheel. So of course I'm sitting there picturing it like the big wheel on the Wheel of Fortune. And, well, obviously Vanna White won't come in and spin it, but somebody will spin it. Maybe there's somebody at the courthouse who does the spinning. Of course, this is just me imagining and being ridiculous, but they do the big spin, and you know how they're waiting, and it's like, is it going to hit $1 million or zero? And so then it goes on. It hits Alan. Wait, what's his name? Alan Holland. Alan Holland. Do you think that all the attorneys that are on the wheel are waiting, and when it slowly turns, and it's like, for a minute there, it looks like maybe it's going to point to another attorney, it lands on Alan Holland? What do you think they're thinking at that point? Is it like, oh, for the love of God? Or is he just like, oh, okay, I can do this, I got this. Let's, I guess that's just going to ensue a lot more stuff for our favorite not felon Sarah Boone. Well, I guess we'll see what happens there. Okay, before I continue with today's video, I would just like to welcome anyone who is visiting here for the first time. I hope that you find it a warm and welcoming place to be. Very, very laid back. And I am not a lawyer, paralegal, psychologist, psychiatrist, just a person with opinions. And I do have a lot. And if you have not yet subscribed and you like what you're seeing and hearing, please subscribe. It doesn't cost a thing. It does help the algorithm. all that good stuff. All right, let's get into it. So, oh man, I still have a lot to say about this. As I called it before, I don't even know what I call it. It's an egregious, her statement, Sarah's statement. And, you know, I'm thinking back about, well, first of all, thank goodness for George, justice for George and his family and what they have been through. I just, I am still reeling from how she could just sit there, just like she's sitting right now, unabashed, while his family is just broken apart. And she's going to sit up there like a saint with her fake forgiveness and fake apology. And again, making it all about her. But, what I'm thinking about now is there's a lot of things I'm thinking about. But I'm thinking about how they have tried everything. And, even for the new trial, which Judge Cranick denied. And actually, I was looking up in the Orange County, my clerk website, and published is, and I think I will share this with you at some point, the prosecution's response to the motion that Mr. Owens made for a new trial. And it's pretty good because they're very good. I'm pretty sure Mr. J wrote that one, but he's really good with some snark, and you can read a lot of snark in there. And I thought it was pretty good, so I will share that with you. But what I was thinking about is all the things, as much as I really get triggered by, of course, Sarah and Mr. Owens. Again, I've got to say, I am glad that Sarah had someone to represent her, as everyone deserves that. And he did, he fought hard for her. I mean, I didn't I just can't with him either. But I'm thinking about, for number one, I'm thinking about, the people that came to speak for Sarah. Number one, too, I thought it was interesting, and I forget how many, but she was interested in the judge. Mr. Owens said that Sarah was interested in knowing how many letters were written on her behalf and all that stuff. So Judge Cranick very kindly and politely read the names of the people, and there were several, including Sarah's brother. I knew that Sarah's brother had written a letter. Now, he didn't come and, testify for her, but I suppose he did write a letter for her, so, good on him. And there were some other people, but I thought it was interesting that she wanted to know how many people. I mean, there were several. And then, of course, she had the people that made testimonies. And I guess, I'm sure you'll have already thought about this. All the people that came to testify were people that met Sarah in jail. So at that time, unless she was able to get something, I don't think so, though, slipped in, she was no longer drinking alcohol. And as far as we know, under the influence of nothing but crazy and narcissism. But so these people met her in jail. So I just find that interesting because there's nobody from, well, of course she had the witnesses during her trial, but there was nobody that was going to come speak and say what a wonderful person she was, except the people who met her in jail. And she was probably at her best then, maybe. I don't know. But so this lady here, the first lady here is, that was the chaplain, Diane Smith. And I'm assuming she's still working there, that she's been at at the Orange County Jail for 30 years. And she testified that she had known Sarah for 4 years. And apparently, I guess the dorm or whatever Sarah stayed in was a Christian dorm. Now, I don't know, what other kinds of dorms are there? Are there Christian dorms? Are there other kinds of dorms other than Christians? Are there vegetarian dorms? Like if I went, I'd probably be in the chocolate dorm because chocolate is my best of everything as far as vices. But I guess there was two things I wanted to point out. The fact that the people that testified for Sarah were people she'd met in jail, and also how it appears that at this last part, I don't think I'd really heard anything about Sarah's, and I'm doing air quotes, Christianity and her being close to God and reading the Bible. And please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I have no problem with that. I have my beliefs as well. I'm just very private about it. And that's okay if people aren't, but I just hate to say it, but sometimes a lot of times people in jail or prison like to use God, the Bible, and of course, who pops in my head? Darrell Brooks. Now, I'm certain there are many people who have gone and found God legitimately, but I feel like this is just another prop that Sarah and Mr. Owens have come up with. Why haven't they talked about this before? I have no idea. This is on the last day. All of a sudden, we're going to hear about Saint Sarah. And I do get very, that's another thing that triggers me. When people want to bring up Christianity and say, I'm a Christian, I'm a good Christian. There was nothing Christian about how Sarah behaved on the stand. She thinks just because that she, has, read scripture and praise and yada, 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 blah, 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 that getting up there, she's able to say whatever she wants. And I guess that's really ticks me off because I think people do use that, even if they're not criminal, use Christianity as a way to, and when they have to tell you all about their Christianity, there's got to be something wrong. I mean, and I'm not saying it people do in a positive way, but I think y'all get the picture. So those are the things I'm kind of focusing on today. The fact that they're using her faith, again, air quotes, and then the type of people, which again, I don't mean anything in a derogatory term or anything like that, but that are people who have been in jail with her. So Miss Smith, the chaplain, said she met Sarah, I guess because she was in the Christian dorm. She met Sarah when she enrolled. I'll just have this going background. So she met Sarah when she enrolled in a Christian class for a year. And she said in her testimony that Sarah was very sincere in her efforts to change her life and to be a better person. She said she was kind and helpful to everyone. And notice how much helpful is used in this. And I'm not criticizing that, but it is kind of interesting how many times it's used in here. Okay, so she loved to serve. And she talked to all the inmates, and many of the inmates had said the same thing, that she was helpful and a very kind, good person. And she says she loved to serve and that she helped the new girls who came in. Like she mothered them and was very helpful or very helpful. And she helped them wash their clothes, show them around, all of this stuff. Okay, so after she graduated from the program, which was a year long, this lady, God, I've already forgotten her name, so sorry. Miss Diane Smith, she was Sarah's counselor for 3 years. And she said she always found Sarah to be very sincere in trying to do better. Oh, I already said this, but she said she spoke with many of the inmates, and they spoke very highly of Sarah. And guess what they said? They said she was helpful and kind and would try to help other people. And then she said, basically, I just found her to be very sincere and good and tried to change and help people. And then when she's finished, Mr. Owens, of course, asks his usual questions. And I always pray, God, please don't ask any questions. But he does. And he goes, and Mr. Owens asks, was the Bible involved? And Miss Smith, gosh, why am I forgetting her name? I have my notes right here. Miss Diane Smith said, oh, yes, it was spiritual. It was all spiritual growth plus character, trying to just be a better person. She liked to serve other people. Oh, I already went over the part where she would help the girls wash their clothes and show them around. She grew very great spiritually. Okay, so there's her testimony. So the next person coming up is Christina Pena. It's Christina, and then it's spelled P-E-N-A, so if I mispronounce it. So she's coming up now. And he's Mr. And she was very nervous. I really felt for her. But anyhow, she was 31, and she had been in the same cell for 3 years with Sarah. Already I've got to give her my condolences, but apparently her and Sarah got along very well. And she's actually been out for about 7 or 8 months. And Christina described Sarah as her best friend, her only friend, and she helps everyone, and she helped her a lot. She was kind. She said, Christina says, she was kind to me. She talked to me all the time. I'll bet she did. Sarah picked her up when she was down. And she says Sarah was a good person. Mistakes happen. But she was always helping people. She helped everyone in the dorm. She did art. Well, we are aware of that. If anyone needed help, they'd come to her and she would help. Even if they did her wrong, Sarah would come back and help them. She prays with them and prays over them. And she describes Sarah as a big sister. She helped her with her case. Well, yes, Sarah helped her with her case, and this young lady helped Sarah with hers. So I mean, I guess out of the ones, well, other than the chaplain, she was like, her bunkmate. So I just wonder. So, Sarah could probably come across as a different type of person and to other people. I mean, I suspect she wasn't mean to everyone, but I think Sarah definitely has a control thing going on, and I think she knows how to manipulate. This is my opinion only, but it's just. But I love how you can't really see his face, but I love how Judge Cranick is just listening very politely and going, yes, Sarah, you're going down. No, I don't think he's doing. I think he's very genuine, even though Sarah did go down. Okay, so the next one who comes up to testify on Sarah's behalf on the date of her sentencing is, I'm probably going to butcher her first name. It's Mariel Hill. I will just call her Miss Hill for these purposes. So for Miss Hill, she said that she met Sarah in jail during her 3 months time in there. And she said about Sarah, she was so, wait for it, helpful, so kind, so respectful. She was loving. Not just to her, speaking of herself, Miss Hill, but to everyone. She talked about how deep Sarah's faith is, her faith in God, her belief in justice for everyone. Everyone? How about justice for George? Maybe everyone except George. I still want justice for Sarah's dogs. Yeah, Sarah claimed that George was mean to her dogs. He may have been, but remember at the beginning when she was interrogated by the detectives, she was talking about George dancing with the dogs. Look at her maybe, was that the one? No, I don't know. Y'all tell me if any of these people are Sarah's girlfriend. Like I said, y'all know better than me. But, so, yeah, the dogs. Yeah, but the thing is that I know that Sarah, I understand it was a very horrible day for Sarah, and even worse for George and his family, obviously. But Sarah said, well, I haven't even let the dogs out or fed them. And think about how many times that they were, and George too, were both in a drunken stupor, and the dogs maybe didn't get fed or have water or were let out. I mean, I'm just speculating, of course, again. I'm just trying to think about all of this. So, yeah, look at that smile. Huh, interesting. I'm such a nosy person. Anyhow, so the next and final person, of course, is Miss Lana Albert, who, of course, she's from Minnesota, and of course they go through this whole thing, obviously, of her trying to get on, and her face is never there, but she is able to speak verbally, and so to tell us about how she feels about Sarah. And so what I want to say about Lana Albert, what's interesting about her is she's, so according to her, she's known Sarah for about 11 months. And let me go back for a minute. So let me just start off by saying, and again, I keep saying I don't mean this derogatory towards any of the people who spoke about Sarah. I'm sure perhaps Sarah was nice to them and they believed that she was. But in this one in particular, Lana Albert, and again, as I keep saying, I don't mean this in a derogatory to Miss Albert. But, and again, this is me speculating, right? I'm thinking with such a serious illness as she purports to have, I'm only guessing, of course, again, speculating, that she's probably isolated and probably very lonely. And, of course, she met Sarah through social media, and I could see where it would be really easy for Sarah to manipulate somebody like Miss Allen. Because for all we know, Miss Allen might live in a decent home, and maybe for, if she's on some sort of disability, perhaps she has some sort of, I hope for her sake anyhow, because, man, it's hard, it's hard to have good health care without going in debt. But hopefully she has some form of decent income, and, let's look at it this way. Let's say that Sarah will be let free or was found not guilty. And Sarah's going to need a place to live. That's why I feel like she's actually pretty comfortable in jail, because obviously she was willing to risk her rightness, or her not wearing the scarlet letter M, which, sorry, Sarah, you're still wearing it, whether you're in jail or out of jail, because you did it. You did it. We all know you did it. But, so I'm just picturing it like this. So let's say Sarah's going to need, so if Sarah was let out, she's going to need a place to live. So she's going to try to find somebody. She no longer has Brian Boone's money. So she's going to have to find somebody, because, Sarah didn't work. Well, I guess now in her apology, her dreadful statement, she talks about her job, but I don't buy that at all. But anyhow, so just think about it. So Sarah needs a place to live, and this person probably is more than willing. They may have even planned for, okay, Sarah, you get out, you can come live with me. And since Sarah is obviously so helpful, Sarah would be more than willing to come into the home and maybe help Miss Albert take her to doctor's appointments. Of course, along with donating one of her kidneys, which I think most of us have already thought about. Probably isn't a very good idea, because I don't know if Sarah's kidneys are very good after all that abuse. And this is why I'm glad that she is going for life. And just a sidebar too, in Florida, life is life. Yeah, in case I didn't get that through. So yeah, Florida, life is life. There's no possibility of parole. When they say life, they mean life. So there's that. But so I'm just thinking, like I said, like if she were, I think Sarah could be a danger. I guess that was my point. People are saying, well, George, that's the only crime she committed. Oh, that was a pretty big one. Let's be real. And I'm not saying that it could happen, but I don't know. In my mind, of course, I do have a very vivid imagination, but I can see her, like I said, going to live with somebody like Ms. Albert, helping her out, taking her to her doctor's appointments. And then all of a sudden it's turning out like another Jesse Krzyzewski. I'm not saying it right, but you know what I'm talking about. The ill-fated eye drop case, where she treated that woman that she allegedly helped and took care of, and used eye drops to do her in. And do y'all really think, when it boiled down to it, Sarah was really going to donate a kidney? But that was my thought for Miss Albert. And I'm just, look, as they're saying this, just look at this for a minute. Look, they've had to listen to hear people say, I'm assuming this lady on the end of the aisle next to the family is probably some sort of victim advocate person. And look at her expression too, as these people are talking about let me look at it, panning to George's family. If they have to listen to this, they're probably going, look at it. I'm telling you, they're just like, poor people. So yeah, she goes on to say, she describes Sarah as kind, honest, good. And she quotes a verse from Psalms at the end. So again, we're kind of including that whole Bible religion thing, which I think is I think that's pretty telling. Why are they doing this? Why? Oh yeah, I also wanted to point out that Ms. Albert kept bringing up the word narcissist and saying she is not a narcissist. She's putting herself before others. And again, how awful for George's family to have to hear. Okay, before I go back to Mr. Owens asking her questions, there was parts about that I found disturbing too. I might play part of that too, but I just remembered, remember now, Sarah met Lana Albert through social media, and Lana Albert found out about Sarah through social media, and the very place that Sarah accuses of. But I bet you, let's face it, look at her right now. She loves the attention. I don't think she was that mad at social media. She just wanted to use it for her dramatic whatever. Yeah, the same social media that, they all met through and that she uses. So I think this is Sarah forgiving. I think she said she forgives social media, but listen to how she describes social media.
Another great contributor of my gold is social media, with its greed, insensitivity, deception, obvious exploitation, and advantageous gain from my criminal case as a whole, and for sentencing me by anticipation as a result of ignorance and hate, conjured and fabricated by the organized crime that is social media, which condemned me in the court of global public opinion since the beginning. My family law case is the new prey waiting to be picked apart and pillaged from me being made infamous by social media.
Oh, cool. Okay, so we're gonna get to see her pillaged from her family law case, which probably means that hopefully Brian Boone won't have to ever give that woman another cent.
In my criminal case, it simply seems I cannot forgive and be forgiven and move forward. Social media has made me a pariah. It has caused great oppression and undeniable disadvantages, especially by broadcasting and manipulating my cases online. In my criminal case, as a result, my opportunities to be given a fair, proper, and uninfluenced, successful conclusion was heavily depleted and poisoned. I forgive him.
Do you really think it was that? Or could it be the fact that people saw Sarah, I can't breathe, babe. That's how I feel when you cheat on me. That's how I feel when you choke me. That's my name. Don't wear it out. Do you think maybe that's the thing that really got people to be, us, myself included, judgmental, seeing that horrible thing, and then the things that they showed in court right there at the end? Oh, Sarah.
Also, all of the media tycoons for not having a life of their own, trying so desperately to make themselves seem so right by making me appear so wrong.
I think she's got to reverse all this stuff. Everything she says about somebody else is really the truth about Sarah. Would you all not agree to that?
For prejudgment, ridiculous theatrics, lies.
Wait a minute. Did ridiculous theatrics? Sarah, look at you talking about the ceramic at the beginning with the gold and the cracks and, oh, gosh, help us. And the lies? Sarah, come on now.
Making and taking blood money from my and others' misfortunes, accidents, and catastrophes.
I didn't take any blood money.
It's all over their hands and their keyboards.
Oh my God, let me check my keyboard. I'm not really big time social media, but I'm checking my keyboard. Did you say blood? I don't see any blood. Maybe a little lint, but nothing like that.
And even after all that's been said and done, theorized, hypothesized, scrutinized, and blasphemed, in my case...
Oh my God, blasphemed.
Still no one knows me.
Oh, I think we do. Look at her. Doesn't her face look like she's filled with the love of the Holy Spirit? Okay, just follow me down the rabbit hole. So at the very end, this was also sickening. I've forgotten about this. So she's going to talk about in her soft-spoken, I don't know what it is, her conclusion or whatever. Anyhow, here we go.
Soft-spoken conclusion, I ask this. Would I be the darling mother, celebrated woman of the year, if it were I who died? How many daughters, mothers, sisters, aunts, grandmothers, nieces, and friends have been because they did? I am a survivor. Learn to do good, seek justice, rebuke oppressors, defend the fatherless, plead for the widow. Isaiah 1:17. All-encompassing, protect the abused.
Boone, is that the...
God, protect the abused. Yeah. Where was George's protection? Okay. I'm sorry, guys. Does that look like a godly woman to you? No. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Go on, Mr. Owens. You've got the floor now.
The end of your written statement.
Yes.
Thank God.
Now, gathering your thoughts, did you want to make an oral statement?
I do.
All right, would you do that now?
Yes, please. My verbal statement is primarily to the Torres family.
Okay. I forgot that she still has her oral statement, but this sounded really, I think she was just kind of doing this kind of off the cuff. I don't know, because she just sounds very robotic and just, look at her face, so cold. This is not a woman who is forgiven or deserves forgiveness, quite honestly. She is still, okay, so she's been in jail, and supposedly she's done all this work to make herself a better person. And with her sober and all, to me, she seems just as cold, soulless, and disgusting as she was before. My opinion, again. But when she does this last part, it's all, and right now she's, how she has, there's the many voices of Sarah. She's like, and my trial, and I've been blasphemed. And so she's talking like this, but now it sounds very robotic. It's just so odd.
To the judge. To his daughters. I know you all know who I really am, and that I did care for George, and that I do still love George. I know you know that we had very many good days, and I take offense to the statement of being said that this is just for a moment. Right now with me here in the courtroom in front of you all, this is just for a moment. But the moment's...
Okay, never mind. I changed my mind. I can't listen to her anymore. Okay, let's go to Mr. Owens asking her the question about the Bible.
Ms. Boone, I have just one or two questions, if you don't mind. And you can speak on it if you want or not. But this is a unique case, and one of the reasons it's so unique is that you were in jail for 4.5 years prior to your trial. And I understand that when you were brought up as a child, that you did have some spirituality in your family, some church, some religion.
Always.
But I understand that you got away from that. Did you have a chance during the 4.5 years to look back at your spirituality?
Absolutely. Everyone supposes that this is one of the worst experiences of my life, and it's actually been one of my greatest.
What about George's experience? There was nothing good about this experience for him or his family or her son. Did you forget your son, Sarah?
If I were not beaten to death, I was going to work myself to death on the outside, and I never had time to get back into my Bible and to pray and to be with the Lord. And I, being here incarcerated, have had time, of course, to get closer to God, to reacquaint myself to Him, and realize what it's all about. This is all temporary, and when I say temporary, I don't mean by being set free in jail or from prison or wherever else. It means being set free and temporary, meaning that you work for something higher, you work for God, that you strive for your crown to be placed upon your head by Jesus Christ by being said, "You have done well, my good and faithful servant." I've always tried to be a good and faithful servant. I was just a servant as opposed to doing all that I can when my family were alive and I was going through everything up to this point. I've become so much more closer to the Lord, and it's made me such a better person, and I hope that I am an example going forward of the Lord's light and can draw many people to me because of it.
Sorry, I don't mean that in vain. I say, oh God, a lot, and I really don't mean it in vain, because usually they say unconsciously when you're saying, oh God, or help me God, that that's the first person I call out to when I need help, but I'm not going to sit there and be a martyr and try to think that, I can't even say it. But I just think it's very interesting, and her case, a lot of people use God, and I'm offended for God and for people who worship him or whomever they worship in the correct way. It's almost like, what, okay, because you're close to God and you read the scripture and you pray for and you pray over people, that you can still just behave hideously, because in my opinion, this lengthy thing that they did, and the Torres family having to hear all of this stuff, if she's changed, she would have been, I'm so sorry for what I did, I'm so sorry. She was not sorry about anything, except that it was George's fault and the Torres family's fault and the scoundrel detective's fault. And let's face it, Judge Cranick and Planet Universe. It was our fault, and the media. We were the reason she unalived George. Okay, so that's it, guys, because I do need to get a break from this woman, because she's so triggering. But that was just some thoughts I had about that, and I get so angry when people try to use God to make it, it's like, oh, it's okay, I read the Bible, I pray, I help, I'm so helpful, blah, blah, blah. So that means I am, all of my things are washed, all my sins are washed away. Well, all of us are sinners, but you know what I'm talking about. It just sickens me how she used it like that. But again, I really, truly hope that the fact that she'll be in there for life will give George family some sort of peace. And, if she can build her relationship with her son or rebuild it, I don't know how he feels at this point. I really feel for him. I do feel like he is a victim, and so was Brian. So that's my thoughts. I'm really leaving this time. Thank you all so much for watching, commenting, and subscribing. I really do appreciate it. I love you all. Be kind to someone. Be kind to you. And I'll see you the next time.